broadcast right now.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. Thank you all so much for joining. I'm super excited to have everybody here today, and I can't wait to dive into this topic. I feel like I say this almost every webinar, but I really mean it when I say that this is one of my favorite topics. We have a ton of content to dive into, so I'm super excited. With that being said, while we give folks just another minute or two to join, I want to make sure that everyone is able to use the question box feature of GoToWebinar. So if you all could please type into the question box where I love to see all the different types of folks in different areas of the world that we have on our webinars. So please type, I'd love to see it and just get a feel for who we have on the call today, because it's always a super diverse and different crowd. For example, I am based out of Boston. So I'm up in New England, and I love it around here. I know I say that a lot on these webinars if you're a repeat visitor, but I love it up here, although I am a little hot, and I'm sure many of you can agree. So let's see here. I'm seeing everybody's responses. We got a ton of folks coming in. Some other folks from New England, Portland, Maine here. We got Hannah from West Palm Beach, Florida. Elena from LA. We got other folks here. Tara from Ohio. Bob from Alabama, Linda from Tallahassee, Jessica from LA, Jim from Texas, San Antonio, Becca from Washington, D.C., Montana. We got some folks calling up from Canada. That's great to see. Edmonton from Alberta, Canada, from Allie. Hello, everyone. This is awesome. Another fellow Bostonian, Kim here. She's currently living in Sarasota. We got some folks over from the Netherlands. Welcome, love to see it. We truly have folks from all across the world join these webinars because it is true that Local IQ, WordStream, and Reach Local do help businesses, agencies, and brands across the world. So it's great to see we have a super diverse and wide audience today from all different parts in all different corners of the world. Thank you all for sharing that. I love to see it. It's going to be a great webinar. I'm super excited. So with that being said, I'm going to dive into a couple of housekeeping items for today. So the logistics for today's webinar, just know that this will be recorded. It will absolutely be recorded. You'll be able to get the materials in your inbox later today, and you'll also be able to easily find the recording as well as our other webinar recordings on our YouTube channels. So look up the WordStream or Local IQ YouTubes, and you'll be able to see this webinar recording from today and also our other past webinar recordings. So we cover a lot of great content on there. Definitely check it out. But like I said, don't worry about taking notes or anything like that. This will be recorded. Also, be sure to submit your questions for the Q&A. So as you can see, when you use that Q&A box to tell me where you're calling in from today, you can also use that to type in questions throughout and for the end of the webinar. So if you've attended any of our past webinars, you know we have some really, really great in-depth sessions at the end where you can ask anything and everything to me, your presenter today. And so please stay on for that and submit your questions for that. I love to dive into those. So some of you might already be familiar with the Local IQ brand. Some of you might be already working with us or familiar or working with our sister brands, Reach Local and WordStream. And some of you might be totally new, and that's fine too. So for everyone on this call today that have different levels of familiarity, I just want to get us all on the same page on who Local IQ is. So Local IQ is an all-in-one marketing platform that helps businesses find, convert, and keep customers. So we marry that proprietary marketing technology, first-in-class service, and free tools at your fingertips to ensure that you see maximized success for your business. A common question that I get asked on these webinars all the time is where you can learn more about us, get more information on the topics that we cover on these webinars. Definitely check us out. We check out our websites, check out our blogs. We cover everything that we cover in the webinar really in depth on our blog. So I would really recommend you check that out if you have more questions or just want some more information on the things we talk about. Also, be sure to follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. You can definitely check out what we have upcoming for our next webinars and our next events, and also see new topics that we cover, guides, ebooks, blogs, all sorts of informational content that is free for you to use to educate yourself and grow your business. So a little bit about me, your presenter today. It's wonderful to meet you all. My name is Susie. I am a content marketing specialist over at Local IQ, where I write educational content on everything under the marketing sun. So how I came into this role was I actually was originally on the WordStream side of things, coaching with clients and businesses, just like the folks on this call today, through marketing best practices. So I took that real hands-on experience and applied it to the educational content that I write today. Fun fact about me, as you already know, and I mentioned earlier, I'm based out of Boston, and it's kind of a tough time for me because I am totally melting in this heat. I always talk about on these webinars, I love the snow, I love the winter time, which I know is pretty different from most folks out there. Everybody loves the summer, but I love the winter time. I love to go snowboarding on the weekends in between work. So luckily the season is almost over and it's approaching my favorite season, which I feel like is different from most folks. And for folks asking about the chat here today, I did see a couple of folks ask that. Again, the only chat feature that you'll have available is the question box, so feel free to treat that like your chat today. So what we'll be covering in this webinar is website traffic, everything and everything under the sun when it comes to your website and the traffic that gets to it. So we're first going to understand what exactly website traffic is, the basics, and also why it's important, why we're having this in-depth webinar on it today. And then we're also going to talk about, of course, the ways to drive traffic to your website, both free and paid, but these are proven ways that we've seen time and time again to really help boost business growth and overall traffic to your business's website. And then once you get that website traffic coming in through these proven methods that we're going to talk about, what do you do? So we're going to talk about how you should measure that, how you should optimize and best prepare for that traffic coming into your business. And then lastly, we'll kind of wrap everything up into a nice key takeaway package. And so I want to do a pop quiz, warm you guys up a little bit. Type into the question box, how have you visited a business's website before? Let's say you're a consumer, maybe you're shopping for something, maybe you're looking for more information. I wish I had a photographic memory and could just type in a business's website URL, but let's face it, we don't memorize website URLs. So we're not just typing into the bar the exact business address that we want to go to on the web. So how do you get there? Do you search? Do you scan a QR code in person? Do you ask a friend? Do you potentially make a call to the business and get information on their website? How do you get there? How do you get to your ideal business's website if you were shopping around? So I see some responses coming in right now, and a ton of responses are going as Google. They Google it, maybe they find it on social media. We see LinkedIn on here, definitely. Word of mouth, again, you might need to find out what that business's web address might be. Some long-tail keyword search, lots of searches. Kelly goes Google, always Google, super true. Anna said ask a friend, definitely no shame in that. A lot of folks are saying this is interesting. Marta said click through from social ads, promotions, definitely. A lot of times you can go down that hole on the web where you're surfing, you see something interesting, and then you click to it, and then you end up on 10 different websites that you never would have anticipated visiting otherwise. YouTube from Carl, definitely a good call out too. So clearly, as we're seeing here, there is endless ways to find a business's website as a consumer. So when we switch gears into how this will apply to your business, keep that in mind. We're going to go through a lot of different channels, and we're going to go through a lot of different strategies, and they all relate back to circling back to that center of your marketing galaxy, which is your website. All right, so now we're going to dive into some different types of traffic, what they mean, again, why this is all important to your business. So of course, website traffic, as we know, is visits to your business's website, but it's a little bit more in depth into that, and we can get into that, but it can result from different things. Like we said when we did that warm-up question of, maybe you click through from an email, maybe you find an external link on a similar blog or article that you were looking at. It can come through searches. Folks might be seeing display ads across the web and then click through that way. You can also visit websites through in-person and print marketing, QR codes, maybe a mailer that has the website on there and then look it up, social media posts, social ads, so much more. It's endless, but essentially when we're talking about website traffic today, we're talking about clicks to your website. So in order to drive traffic to your website, why this is important, why you want to be doing this is it just impacts your overall business growth in a few different ways. So obviously it's the half the battle into getting a conversion. Now, when we're talking about conversions today, I obviously understand that we have a variety of businesses of all shapes and sizes on the call today. You might not necessarily be trying to drive specific conversions or purchases. Maybe you're trying to get leads in. Maybe you're trying to direct calls to your business from your website. You know, there's so many different ways that a business might consider a conversion, or a business might consider a website visit turning into a customer. So when I say conversions, I don't want you to get stuck in that box of, oh, that doesn't apply to my business. I want you to think about how the initial website visit can lead to so much more after the fact to actually bring you in more customers or leads or whatever it might apply to your business. It can also increase that brand awareness and recognition. You and your website is going to be the best resource for potential customers to learn more about your business and understand who your business is. You might see, you know, media coverage about your business, you might see articles, you might have posts out there on social media, but at the end of the day, your website is your home base to really home your brand awareness and your brand style and your logo and everything under the sun when it comes to branding, which can help folks to come back to your business later, be able to recognize you and remember you later and become loyal customers. Also, you'll have more control over the customer journey once you get more traffic to your site. And what I mean by that is you want more traffic to your site so that you have more control over more of the potential customers that come to your business. So essentially saying, once they get to your site, you could promote a specific type of service or a specific type of product on those landing pages, or you could tell them a specific type of story that you want to get across to them to understand who your business is and how you can help them. So instead of having them find out through word of mouth or through, like I said, other external sources about your business, you'll be able to control their journey once they get to your site all that much more. So that's why you want to get them to your site in the first place. And then it is both a short and long-term positive business initiative to get more traffic to your website. So again, like you'll be able to turn on that faucet with certain strategies and get tons of traffic right away, which will help grow your business in the short term. But also over time, as you slowly but surely increase your traffic averages, you'll be able to increase your, your brand authority and things like that to be able to establish, again, those loyal customers over time. And then last but not least, traffic also does equate to data in the long run. So the more traffic you have, and once you start digging into what pages get the most traffic or drive the most actions from that traffic, you'll be able to make more data-driven marketing decisions in the future. Do I have certain strategies that are bringing more traffic to my site that I should put more budget to, or vice versa? Or do I have certain pages that get all the traffic on the site and maybe I should cut this page that, just isn't really driving traffic, things like that. So there are a few common types of traffic that you guys have probably been familiar with. And I created this graphic with a purpose in mind. I know it looks a little empty, but I wanted it that way because I think there are a few common terms that a lot of folks toss around when it comes to traffic. And I wanted to bucket them together so that you understand kind of how they're more like umbrella terms. So on the free side, we're familiar with free traffic as organic traffic. However, organic traffic, again, is really more of an umbrella term. It could come from, again, those folks clicking to your site from external links and referrals. It could be folks directly typing in your website, things like that. With that, you might be putting budget behind that. You might be connecting with businesses to do those referral links, or you might be doing paid social ads as well as organic social posts. And again, that traffic is all necessarily free. If you're putting budget behind it, it could be in the paid bucket. It could also be free. So that's why it's kind of hard to differentiate those buckets that you commonly see when you see these terms in analytics. So I wanted to make sure that you all understand that free and paid traffic is going to be dependent on your specific solutions and your specific strategies. But essentially, these are the most common terms that we see for traffic and the ones that you'll often see in tracking tools like Google Analytics. Of course, on the paid side, that's going to be like your display ads, your over-the-top streaming ads, your search ads. And then again, in the middle, you can get those for free. Direct also we found is kind of like a bucket term. So when you're looking at direct traffic and analytics, sometimes it counts other things like, again, visits from specific types of social sites and social posts or things like that. And then of course we have the socially sourced traffic, which again could definitely be paid or organic. And then we have other campaigns like nurture campaigns, for example, email that can still drive traffic to your website. You could be sending those emails for free and doing it all on your own. You could be paying and investing in a CRM, which at the end of the day is still going to contribute to that paid side because you're putting budget towards it. And then we have other campaigns, right? So there's obviously going to be a different marketing strategy for every business out there. There's no right or wrong answer or one set formula that every business uses. So there might be other, one-off campaigns that you have that don't necessarily fit into these buckets. And again, those could be paid. They could be completely free efforts. So things like print, things like word of mouth, et cetera, et cetera. So here are some common examples of what tracking traffic will look like. Again, this is going to look different for most folks, but some common ways that folks track traffic is, of course, through Google Analytics. So at the top here, we see just looking at your overall traffic through those page views and then digging into the specific channels that drive that traffic. And we see some of those buckets that I referenced. Again, those are kind of the common terms that Google Analytics uses. And you can see that in that channel breakdown here. One thing that I did want to highlight here is you can, local IQ's Client Center platform can also track and sort your traffic for you in the same way. So at the end of the day, there is no set answer to how you want to track your traffic. And I'll get into this a little bit more at the end as well. But I think a lot of folks just automatically think that they're going to track traffic through Google Analytics. But there's so many other ways that you can track traffic. You can track through local IQ, you can track through other third-party tools or other tools. You can track manually yourself if you have that capability. There really is no set way. It's just that everybody defaults at Google Analytics, using that tool to track your traffic. So just know that it's going to look different, and this is kind of a preview of what it might look like for you. So I thought it'd be great to start off with the free. Everybody loves saving money, so we're going to dive into the free ways to drive traffic to your website. First and foremost is local listings. And I think that this one always catches folks by surprise. I started for this one to be our #1 strategy for a reason. And that is because a lot of people don't realize that their local listings on places like Google Business Profile, Yelp, things like that, impact their traffic in the long run. So you want to make sure your online presence is up to date and that you're linking to your site actively. That's of course going to be the easiest way to drive traffic directly from your local listings. And actually it's a pretty common action that folks do. In fact, over half of the people visiting your local listings are going to click to your website. So make sure that you have those links on there and make sure that they're up to date. So if you're changing your website, things like that, you want to make sure that you're refreshing those. But not only that, but your local listings will also impact your SEO ranking. So this is going to complement other strategies that we talked about today to help drive your traffic. So if you continuously pull in reviews and you're responding to those reviews, that's going to help your local listing rank higher and also impact your organic ranking factors so that your SEO organic listings can rank higher on the page as well. So it's kind of like an all-encompassing one track deal to drive more traffic to your website through a couple different free strategies. So you really want to make sure you're responding to both those positive and negative reviews. I know it sucks to get those positive and negative reviews and have to take the time to respond to them, but that's just, and again, an example of one way that you can improve your ranking and your listing. And then you'll also want to make sure you're including those clear calls to action. Again, if you want folks to click to your website, if you want to drive that traffic, make that known in all of your channels. And that is something I'm going to reiterate throughout. And then also to, engaging media, being able to catch folks' eye as they're looking in phases of, all right, I have these assets out here on the web, I have some local listings, I have some organic listings, some ads, yes, I want to get them to click to my site. That's going to come, but first I need to get their attention and actually get them to look at it. And then I need to convince them to click to my site, right? So you kind of want to think of those multiple different steps that you can do to improve your local list to drive traffic. So secondly, a common way that folks try to drive traffic for free is organic social media posts. So mainly with this, it's going to come down to consistency, since social media is such a saturated place. So if you want to drive traffic from your organic social posts, you're going to have to build it over time. So definitely create a posting schedule, stick with it, and post as consistently as you can. We have a lot of great resources on what times of days and how frequently you should platform. Check that out. I want to just be creating timely posts, and it's again going to catch attention in a really saturated space. And then when we're again going back to our main goal of driving traffic, we want to make that known in our posts. So it's going to look different than if you were just trying to drive conversions or brand awareness through all these strategies. Again, you're just going to want to really hone in on that website traffic here. So you're going to always want to include links. Mention your website in any social creative. Make sure you have social share buttons also on your site. That's kind of like working backwards and taking those steps back to get folks back to your social page and then back to your site again, and through that cycle over and over again to increase your traffic over time. Another thing, if you don't have like a huge following, which is totally normal, use things that are going to help your page rank to new followers, to people who don't follow you and don't know you. So things like hashtags, creating videos or reels or engaging posts that might show up in searches or might show up on explore pages. Trying some of those trends to help your business stand out and show up in those areas. And then also to just making sure we're always linking to your site. So search engine optimization, or SEO as many people know it. A lot of folks have asked about this, or have talked about this, know about this, and have used it. But this is really the bread and butter way to drive free traffic to your website. So it is going to be a little bit of a longer term strategy and going to take a little bit of work, but the payoff is definitely there. For example, over half of all your website traffic is going to come from organic searches. So you want to make sure that you're ranking on the search engine results page on Google, so that when those organic searches do happen, your business is there, you're showing up, and you're getting that click. So first off, you're going to want to have a good handle of the keywords that you're going to be ranking for. So that's going to help Google know, you know, when somebody does type something into a search query, what keywords you're looking for to match with those queries. So if my, target keyword is fitness tips because I want to get folks into my fitness business, then I know that I want to be trying to match up to searches that relate to fitness tips, and Google will know that. It'll pick that up from my site, and it's not going to have me show for like an auto dealer search or something like that, right? So we want to make sure we have those thematic keyword targets that we have set in place. Definitely use free tools like WordStream's free keyword tool for that. You can look at some keyword themes, understand the competition, what type of volume searches related to that keyword will get, and how that can help impact your website traffic in the long run. So again, like, you want to be showing for searches that are going to be relevant to your business, because that'll increase the likelihood of people actually wanting to click on your business's listing once they do see it on the search engine results page. Again, linking is going to be another thing too that's going to help drive that organic traffic. It'll also help your SEO efforts, but also too, thinking back to those free ways to drive traffic, when you're creating content to optimize your website for SEO, you're most likely putting in links from your other pages on your site. You also want other websites to be linking back to your website, because when visitors visit their site, they'll see that link and then they'll click to your site. So you can reach out to businesses and make the ask, try and do link trades, maybe potentially do guest posts, things like that to build that up. And again, you could put budget behind that too. It really depends on your strategy. And then lastly, you just want to be actively creating content. So if you have your keywords, mentioned once or twice on your page, you probably won't rank super high for them. So you really want to make sure that Google knows for sure that you are targeting the content that you want to target. So create things like blog posts. In fact, businesses that blog actually drive 55% more traffic than businesses that don't. So this is a really great way to boost those SEO efforts. That's from HubSpot. So we also do mention it on our blog. Definitely check it out. And then also too, things like landing pages should be keyword optimized and any other web assets that you might have. With that in mind, I would also just make a quick note. I don't want you guys to be keyword stuffing. That's actually going to do the opposite effect where it seems like your pages are a little bit lower quality to Google. And that's essentially, of course, keyword stuffing would be to overuse your keyword. So use your keywords in a meaningful way, and that'll help boost your SEO. A couple other ways that you can drive traffic to your website, and I love this example here I have on the right, is just to be present, be jumping into those industry conversations, be talking to other folks in the industry, make yourself known, put yourself out there, because that'll help you, again, widen your audience and get folks to visit your site that might not have necessarily known about you otherwise. So for example, you want to be attending those industry events or hosting your own events like webinars or virtual webinars are fine, also in person, conferences, things like that. You also want to be able to attend, make yourself known in community discussions or potentially partner with other businesses that could be related to your business or in your community. Things like that can all help in the long run to drive your traffic. And it's pretty easy, free, paid way to do so. In this example on the right, I just think this is super interesting. Everybody's kind of knocking, this brand ClickUp here, and then ClickUp actually responds back. So I gotta say, they were watching and looking for that, and they jumped in and saw the opportunity and they jumped on it. Definitely bugs me, though, just like a touch of humor for today's webinar. If you see that this girl, she's like, everybody's switching to ClickUp, I don't see the difference. And they're like, all right, well, what do you need? And she's like, I don't need anything. So why'd she say anything? But at the end of the day, people responded. Someone else said, wow, what a lovely exchange. People were liking it. People respected and appreciated the fact that ClickUp was present in this conversation and noticed that people were talking about them. And that can be another great way to drive traffic to your website and build that brand awareness so that people are looking for them later. Lastly is maintaining brand consistency, and this is another example that I have that I really love, so I will get into that after I talk through some of these points, but having your brand easily recognizable will help you stay top of mind to customers, meaning they'll be thinking about you when they're online and they'll be more likely to visit your site. So that means you need to have a brand style guide in place and really stick with it so that they can recognize you anywhere and everywhere they go. So when they do see you on social media, like in that past example, they say, oh, that's ClickUp or whoever it may be, and type in your website later or click to your page to click to your site and things like that. So definitely, include everything that could possibly be a differentiator for your brand. And there is a lot of details going into this, but once you set it up, you can refer to it time and time again, and it'll just really help your brand be tightened up. So things like fonts, logos, colors, hex codes, even with that. Voice and tone, your styling, your grammar, so many things can go into that. And I think this is a really good example of a way that this could organically drive traffic with this social post. They have their logo right in the post. They also have this really fun voice in the caption, which I think, again, matches the overall brand look and feel. And they have their colors clearly there. They have their fonts clearly there. And even as you read the caption, you'll notice that they do eventually have a call to action where they ask folks to go directly to their site. So let's say they try to do that and folks are on the web looking for their site. They'll be able to know that they're in the right place because then they're going to, again, recognize those colors. They're going to recognize that logo. They're going to recognize all sorts of different things that'll go into this. So when people are looking for you on the web and they want to visit your site, you don't want them to be unsure that they're in the wrong place when they get to your site. That'll help you avoid any bounce rates with your traffic. All right, so now we're getting into the paid side. Now I understand everybody's marketing budget is different. And I did keep that in mind with this portion of the webinar, but just know that at the end of the day, you have to spend money to make money. So if you really want to see your traffic grow, these are some of the ways to do it. And it doesn't have to be a monster budget. If you have a monster budget, great, but I also want you to be thinking about how you can thoughtfully spend that monster budget. It doesn't mean you're just blasting that budget out there into these paid avenues to get the most conversions, we're talking about website traffic here. So it's not going to take a ton of budget or a ton of resources, but I do want you all to be aware of, everybody has a little bit of a marketing budget, let's face it. So where are you going to put it to drive the most traffic to your website? So of course, everyone's going to know that I'm going to start it off with search ads. Not only do I love search ads because I worked with them most heavily when I worked with clients, but it's kind of top of mind for everyone. Let's face it, we all know search ads as a #1 way paid way to drive traffic to your website. Of course, that means you're putting a little bit of budget behind some keywords, tossing Google, whatever you might be bidding for a click. And then once people see your paid ad on the search engine results page, like these paid ads that we see here in this example, they'll click on your ad. And when they do click and click to your website, so you're driving traffic there, you're paying for that click, you're paying for that traffic. So this can really help supplement your SEO. So if you remember me talking about search engine optimization a little while ago, you need to work to get your site to rank organically. So if you're not ranking organically, PPC is a really great place to just default and fall back to, because when people are searching for terms related to your business and you want that traffic, you want to be able to be top of page to get that click. And ads help you do that because ads by default show above organic results. So that's why you would want to put some budget behind search ads to, again, especially if your SEO is kind of lacking, you're not really ranking, you're not showing top of page. This is a great way to make sure that you are top of page because you're putting budget behind it. So again, you're going to want to leverage that keyword research that you might still be doing for your SEO. So you can definitely check out free tools like ours or any of the tools out there to understand what keywords might be best for you. But usually folks see that there are thematic similarities between their SEO keywords and their paid search. You should be bidding on, you should definitely take a look at maybe what you're already using for SEO, but it could definitely be different too. For example, you might want to be bidding on certain terms that, are related to your brand or branded terms because they're a little bit cheaper, but maybe people aren't looking for them organically, or you can't really optimize for that for SEO, so you're putting that in paid. That's just one example. Again, it's going to look different for everyone, but the keywords are really going to make a difference here to help drive traffic. The other reason I say that is it's going to also relate back to the searcher intent. So something that's going to be really important when you're trying to drive traffic through your search ads is the intent of the search. So you want to make sure you have those high intent, long-tailed keywords that you're bidding on within your search ads. So for example, I don't want to have somebody looking up, what is the history behind modern gyms if I'm like a fitness business. I want to be looking up, I want to be bidding on somebody that has a much higher intent of wanting to work out at my gym, maybe like open gyms near me or gym times or gym sessions, under 30 minutes or something like that. That's a little bit longer tailed of a keyword or a longer keyword. It's a keyword of 5 terms or more within the one string, and it's a little bit higher intent. So I know that when I do show for those searches, it's somebody that's already kind of ready to make a conversion, and that'll make my life easier because when I'm paying for that click, it's going to be all that much more valuable for me. Plus, it's going to help drive traffic versus somebody just looking for information. While it's great to still drive traffic from those people, traffic is, again, like I said, half the battle to the conversion. So we want to still be thinking about the end goal with that. And then you want to make sure your ad copy, and I think these are pretty decent examples of that. You want to make sure that your ad copy is really clear in your end goal, and in this case, it's traffic. So you want to have those clear CTAs in your ad copy to entice people to actually click to your website. So for example, free estimate, all right, I know that I want to click to that site so I can understand how to get my free estimate, or whatever it may be. So email is another way to drive traffic to your website, of course, because you can link to your site in the email content pretty easily. However, I did bucket it under paid because at the end of the day, let's face it, to have a really in-depth and targeted email process, you're most likely spending money on a CRM. So you might want to invest in a CRM, and this is one example of how Local IQ's Client Center can kind of do that for you, where it can parse out those leads and, bucket those emails together so you can create your email list. But essentially, that's going to help you create these targeted campaigns. And the reason I say that is the more segmented and personalized your emails are, the higher likelihood that they'll probably bring traffic to your website, right? So if you know that certain leads are, email leads are coming in and adding to your list are in different phases of your sales funnel, you can tailor your email to that to not only increase the open rates on your email, but also, again, increase the traffic to your website. You also want to optimize your subject line because, again, your email, the efficacy of your email in relation to your website traffic is only going to be valuable if you have that subject line to actually get them to open it. So you want to make sure you're avoiding things like spam triggers. You want to make sure that you have an eye-catching subject line, something that makes it clear that they have a reason to click into it. There's a purpose, there's an action that you're looking to have them to complete. So that way, when they do open it, they're ready to click through to your site. We have a ton of email subject line ideas and tips on the Local IQ blog, so definitely check that out. And of course, like I said, always link back to your site. So you don't want to just, even if the goal of the email isn't necessarily to drive traffic, when we're looking at the grand scheme of driving traffic in the long run over time, you kind of don't want to give them an exit point. Let's say that your email is just to thank them. You still want to be able to give them the option to click to their site because it couldn't hurt, right? It couldn't hurt to get them to click back to your site if they wanted to, other than just saying like thank you and having them exit out of the email. Display ads, I really love display ads. Again, I'm a little partial to the paid ads and Google Ads side of things. I love it, but display ads are awesome in so many ways. But definitely when it comes to website traffic. And that is because you're showing to customers with these display ads as they're passively browsing sites and not necessarily like going out of their way to look for you. But it still can be really helpful when they do see your ad and they feel enticed to click, they'll click to your site. So of course we want eye-catching creative. That is definitely a great example here with this display ad here where it's bright, it's eye-catching, it's clear in the action that they want me to take. And then, again, we kind of want those out-of-box audiences. So an example I always use is, let's say you are a B2B business. So I'm trying to target decision makers that, are working a 9-to-5, maybe they work from home, and I'm trying to sell them my software. A lot of folks think that they want to show their display ads on pages that relate to software. But if you think about it, what are those types of professionals doing all day? They're browsing the web, they're looking at the weather, they're planning dinner for after work tonight. They aren't looking at software all day, even though they work in it. I don't look at marketing stuff all day, even though I work in marketing, right? We all are guilty of browsing the web, and that's when your display ads are most effective. So what you might actually do is be looking at pages or audiences, that have, be planning leisurely weekend plans or be looking at weather sites or news sites, and that can be just as impactful for a B2B business. So there's always those out-of-box examples where you could show your display ad and see potentially some ROI on that. And then lastly, a thing that I think folks don't always know that can relate back to their website traffic is to look at view through conversions. It's kind of an out-of-box idea for conversion tracking, so if it's possible for you, definitely check it out. Essentially, a view through conversion can track back to your display ad from, a search, click, or conversion. So let's say, if we're thinking about the lifetime or the life cycle of a display ad, people are seeing it, maybe they don't necessarily click, and then they see it again, and then they're enticed to click, and then they bounce, but then you already planted the seed in their head, right? So they see the ad, maybe they click on it, maybe they don't, but later on they're searching for you. And then they click on your organic or your paid listing, and then they convert, but really that journey started with that initial display ad. So that's just another way of how display ads can help drive your traffic. And actually there are some really interesting stats on display ads as well. So this is from WordStream's digital marketing statistics on our blog. Definitely check it out. But for example, a user's search activity rises 155% after being served a display ad. So that's just another way to show that display ads do impact how people are getting to your website later, even if you don't necessarily drive clicks off them right away. Also, 27% of consumers conduct a search for a business after seeing a display ad. So there's a lot of other, again, it's clear that the ROI is here when it comes to display ads and web traffic. Social ads, definitely a fan favorite, I think, from a lot of businesses, and these can be awesome too when it comes to moving display ads and or to putting budget towards ads and seeing traffic come back to you. So again, you want to make sure that ad copy is clear and also entices viewers to want to click to your site. So something unique to social ads is that you can choose usually the CTA button that is in there, like in this example here, where we have that little button there for get an offer. So essentially what that means is you'll be able to just switch the buttons around and what that button might say. So you might want to have it say sign up now. You might want to have it say learn more. So try and play around with that because that can help folks be more inclined to click on that button that could lead to your site. So that's just one way to drive traffic to your site from social ads. Again, you want to be kind of A/B testing that. That's because social ads can show pretty quickly to different audiences out there. Again, social media is huge now. There's tons of different saturated platforms out there, usually tons of different audiences that you can use, and they're usually pretty big. So you're going to have a lot to play with. So be ready to A/B test to drive the most traffic possible. Something else that can help make your ads more effective when it comes to social media ads and your traffic is to make sure that they align with your organic posts. And that kind of goes back to my original point with branding, right? So you want your brand to be really clear in those social ads. So if they don't really match your organic ads or your organic posts, people are going to see that on their news feeds or wherever it may be and not recognize it, or it's going to feel a little bit more like an ad to them and they might not be as inclined to click to your site from that ad. So make sure that your brand is clear and approachable in these ads. So again, people are going to be wary of your social ads, so just be ready to handle and combat that. And then sometimes to constructing these social ads, you're going to be a little bit limited in terms of character space, in terms of image size and specs and things like that. So you might not necessarily be able to get the point across that you want to get their traffic to your site. So what you can do is a lot of times when people are running social ads and they see social ads, they'll click back to the business's page and not necessarily make an action on the ad because they want to learn more. So make sure that your company's social media pages are really tightened up and ready to go if you're going to run social ads. Because that way, when they do get to your page, if maybe they've never seen you before, because again, with social ads, you can reach folks outside of your following, they can understand who your business is, how to get to your site, and have a link clearly right there on your page so that they can click on it. Favorite is retargeting. I saved this one for last because it is, of course, a little bit more advanced and it does require some initial website traffic. So for those of you that are familiar but need a little bit more of an explanation on what I mean by this. So of course, retargeting is actually targeting folks that have already visited your site, but this can still increase your traffic over time by getting repeat visitors. So you want to get people to keep coming back. So you might, for example, build lists and build those remarketing lists over time, again, with that CRM or however you're tracking your traffic and keeping track of those folks with your business's own first-party data. With that, I will mention that certain platforms, when you do deploy retargeting ads, whether it be through Google or Facebook or whatever it may be, usually have a minimum list size. So this, again, is going to be a little bit more of an advanced strategy once you've been building up your traffic a little bit. Those lists over time so that you can meet those minimum requirements of, maybe you need 1,000 members within your retargeting audience or whatever it may be. And then the other really major thing when it comes to retargeting that I think a lot of folks forget is if you want to get them to come back to your site, is you're going to have to tweak the content that you're serving them. They've already visited your site. They already know you. They already bounced, or maybe they didn't convert, whatever it may be. You need to be ready to answer whatever it was that caused them to leave your site. So you might say, to these audiences, you might go a little bit more in depth on product information, or you might ask, phrase a question in the copy or in the creative, things like that. Anything that'll help it be a little bit different, a little bit fresher, right? Because they've already assets So you don't want to tire out this audience by any means. Again, since this is a little bit more of an advanced longer term strategy, just have patience with it. It will drive traffic over time, but you just need to set your expectations accordingly. But retargeting can also be really, really effective, not only for traffic, but just in the long run for conversions. So for example, customers are 70, and again, this is back from WordStream's digital marketing posts, digital marketing statistics posts, but customers are 70% more likely to make a purchase from a retargeting ad. So that means that those retargeting ads have a really high likelihood of pulling those clicks, and again, driving that traffic to your site and also pushing those conversions. So it's kind of a win-win. You're getting more traffic and you're getting more conversions. All right, so I know this was a lot of strategies, and thank you for bearing with me through all of those, but let's kind of talk about, you've employed those strategies. What are you gonna do once you get all that traffic? How are you gonna measure it? How are you gonna grow it, right? Once you start pulling in that traffic, it's kind of addicting. You're just gonna want more and more of it. So make sure that your website traffic is increasing. So you're gonna wanna benchmark along the way. So as you deploy these strategies, make sure you have a way to track the traffic that comes in, and so that way you can see, all right, this is where I'm currently averaging for traffic, this is where I'd like to be, and make sure that you're on a steady increase. Of course, there's going to be week over week or month over month or quarter over quarter differences. Make sure your long-term trajectory, and this is a more long-term goal to drive traffic, right, is going to be on an increase of traffic over time. So you can use tools like Google Analytics to try and track your traffic. You can also use, again, other tools like I mentioned, local IQ's tools and other free online tools out there. You can also identify top driving queries from organic, what's Google Search Console, or and some folks are familiar with the search terms report in Google Ads. So there are ways to actually see what queries you're ranking for on the search engine results page. This can help you to optimize your keyword strategy in the long run and get all that much more traffic from those queries. So maybe I'm ranking for, how to exercise after dinner or something. Again, back to that fitness example. And that might be something I haven't necessarily thought of, but I'm ranking for it. So then I tweak my keyword strategy accordingly, and then I drive all that much more traffic. Also, you want to be looking at the SERP, so you can use SEO tools for this, but I also encourage folks to just be active on the SERP, be active and get into that customer mindset. What might they be looking up? What other competitors on the page? What are they doing? What are they mentioning? Things like that you can use as inspiration for your own business. And last but not least, but the number one thing that I want you guys to take away from today's webinar is to maintain your website quality. We've been talking about how to get traffic to your site a lot, but what do you do once they get there? You want to make sure they have the best experience possible. So you need to make sure that your website quality is top notch, right? Your page is loading fast. You have mentions of your brand and what you offer on the page. You have a clear CTA so that they have something to do once they get there. You have an easy to navigate site. You offer a live chat. That's actually a really common request of consumers. Actually, at least 40% of consumers now do expect live chat on your site. That's from the local IQ blog. Definitely check it out. So that is a common request too. Like all of those user experience components that go into your website are really going to matter at this point because you're driving all that much more traffic. With that being said, you can use online tools to understand how your website is currently performing. So for example, local IQ's website grader helps you to understand how your web presence currently is and identifies opportunities for you to improve your website performance as well. So if you are implementing these new strategies and trying to drive traffic, but you're not necessarily sure how your website is going to perform once it does get that traffic, I would definitely recommend looking at grader tools like that to understand, all right, do I need to improve my page speed before I get all this traffic to my site? And then over time, as you're getting more traffic, if it's bouncing a lot or if you're not getting the conversions to match your traffic, this is where your website quality can really come into play. So with that being said, that was a kind of a main takeaway there. I want to launch a poll now. It's going to take over your whole screen, but essentially I want folks to go ahead and opt in if they feel like they had a lot of questions today. Maybe they have some unique situations within their business. Maybe they have specific questions that they want answered. I would definitely recommend hitting yes on those in this poll here to get a more personalized analysis of what your current marketing efforts are and how you can drive more traffic. So we're going to keep that poll up for the remainder of the webinar, and we're going to switch to sort of an audio portion for the last 10 minutes or so, where I'm going to dive into the Q&A. And holy smokes, there is a ton of questions coming in. This is awesome, awesome, awesome. I love to see it. So definitely keep these questions coming and type in your questions for this Q&A session right now. I'm going to pick a few to kick our Q&A session off. So for folks here, any advice, this is from Katie here, any advice for driving traffic specific to a niche content site? So a common thing that we do see, and that I've seen where even myself working at WordStream and LocalIQ, there are a lot of niche markets and niche businesses out there that are really specific, have really specific subject matter, really specific topics, and they kind of have like a smaller audience there. So what I would say is really hone in on those thematic core terms and definitely rely on those as much as possible to drive more traffic. I would also still say you probably will want a little bit of marketing budget, since your audience is most likely a little bit smaller, to put towards ads to reach folks that might not yet know about you. So for example, display ads are really good for businesses in niche markets because, again, they'll be able to show to folks that are passively browsing the web and don't necessarily know about them. Right. Nicole asked if I could explain a social share button. So I mentioned that for your organic social posts. A social share button is essentially just a button on your site that can link back to your social media pages and can also allow people to sign into their social media platforms and share the content that they're looking at on your site. So definitely check those out. Let's see, tons of questions coming in. Keep those questions coming. Tanvir asked, what do I mean by enhancing ad copy and how do you improve it? So good question. Enhancing ad copy is really a couple of key things that you want to look for. First and foremost, you always want to look for in your ad copy, is my call to action clear? Is it clear? Is it clear with a purpose? It needs to be very obvious to people who have no idea what your business goals are, right? Because they're consumers, why they need to click to your site and what you're trying to get them to do once they get there. So make those call to actions as clear as possible. That's probably the #1 thing I could recommend for enhancing ad copy. And then another thing with ad copy, and this is, with ad creative, with content, so I'm talking social ads, search ads, display ads, make sure that you have compelling creative and you're including the key terms that you're already, potentially bidding on with your search ads or targeting on your SEO. So if one of my core terms is, workouts at home, I want to make sure I'm always mentioning workouts at home in my ad copy. Sorry again for all the fitness examples, but there's tons of other industries that we work with and that I've seen have used those tactics. Other great questions here. For folks asking about the recording, are we sharing slides? That will be recorded. You'll get that afterwards. You'll be able to get all the materials in your inbox later. Vernon asked a really cool question here. Can I explain how the setup differs for creating a display ad versus a search ad? Yeah, so a search ad is going to bid on keywords, so it's text-based. So you're not dealing with any images or creative material. You're only dealing with text that would include keywords that you could then show for on the SERP and a final URL that you would direct them to their website, to your website after they see the search ad. So you're bidding on keywords only. So you can only kind of bid on the context or the text that people are typing into a search bar, versus a display ad shows passively when people are browsing the web. So you would be bidding, instead of on keywords, you're really more bidding on like targeting parameters and audiences. We have a lot of in-depth information on this on the blogs that I've actually written on both the blogs. Definitely check it out. But essentially with display, you're not targeting keywords more as you're targeting your placements on the web. So if you know for a fact you want to show to people that are browsing pages well, that, you know, fit into the outdoors category. You might be bidding on the outdoors audience, or you might be bidding on content related to the outdoors because you want to make sure that your ad shows on those pages. So it's a little bit of a different targeting setup. And then again, the actual ad content is different where it's text-based versus image-based. So they're pretty different. Other questions here? Wow, there's still a ton coming in. I know we have just a couple minutes for a few more. Anyone asking questions specific to industries, I would definitely recommend to hit yes on that poll so you can get more personalized advice. Mary asks, which tool is better to track traffic, Google Analytics or Adobe Analytics? I will give you an answer that you might not necessarily want, Mary, but I will say I can't tell you the answer to that because there is no right or wrong answer, right? It's going to look different for every business. And while there are huge similarities between the two platforms, it's going to come down to what's easier for you guys, what's easier for you to set up, what makes the most sense to you. You know, obviously the interfaces and the user experience is a little bit different for each. So you're going to want to maybe test both, see what feels more comfortable, see what makes the most sense, and so on. All right, let's see. We have another minute or two for a couple more questions. Keep those questions coming. All right, let's see. This is a good one here. Once you've written a blog, how do you drive traffic to it? Do you just post it on your site? Great question. So once you write a blog, you first start driving traffic to it through the SEO tactics that you put into place when you actually created and posted the blog. So that means before the blog is even live, you know, things are optimized like your keywords, your images, your links, things like that are just SEO basics that are going to help your blog rank in the long run. And then, yes, you do post it to your site, and that will help and have it, you know, you're going to want it to be indexed so that Google knows to crawl it and to show it on the search results. But after that, you might want to do a little bit of promotion. So a common thing folks do is share the blog post on social pages to reach out to other businesses and, you know, try for a link exchange. So you link back to your blog from other sites, things like that. You know, you want to do a little bit of a promotional plan for those blog posts to help drive it traffic, because to expect it to get traffic from organic rankings is going to be a little bit longer term and it's going to take time. Great questions here. We have 1 minute here. Julie asked, this is a great kind of roundup question. I wish I could get to all of these. You all know I could talk about this all day, but I'll end with this last question from Julie. Are the strategies you've discussed differ whether you're marketing B2C or B2B? So I try to be pretty inclusive in today's presentation where these strategies could absolutely apply to B2B or B2C. How you approach it and the actual details of each strategy might be a little bit different, but at the end of the day, these proven ways to drive traffic to your website could apply to all types of businesses, both B2C and B2B. So with that being said, I know we're right at time. Thank you all so much for joining. Definitely check out this recording later on YouTube, or check out our other webinar recordings. Keep your eyes peeled on the Look Like You and Reach Local and WordStream social pages for other times that you'll be able to join other webinars like this. We do a webinar once a month, so definitely join. Check out our resources. But thank you all so much for joining, and I hope you have a wonderful day.